Yo, 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 yo. This is Sipped1, and today we'll be talking about using the Glaive and also using Imp Javs. So this guide will be covering both the Glaive and Imp Javs at once. So first off, let's talk about the Glaive in Season 7. I think it's one of the stronger weapons for sure. I would rate it A to S, just depending on, I guess, how good the player is at it, but it's definitely a solid choice. And good on most maps. I would say the Glaive definitely excels in defending points, because when people are rushing towards you, you can CC them as they're running to you, and they're always funneling at you, which is good for setting up your CC and chaining that into your ultimate. So just in general, I prefer defending as Glaive. And another thing is I prefer defending with the Imp Javs, and all Jav units in particular just feel better on defense than they do on offense, because people are running at you, they're trying to capture points, and they're all funneling into one area, as opposed to when you're attacking with Javs, people are naturally backing up away from you, which makes hitting your Javs a lot harder. But for now, we'll go back to the Glaive in Season 7. I feel like it's a very strong weapon, and I feel like people are playing it totally differently depending on which camp you're in. You can play it, and both ways are good. You can play it heavy armor, or you can play it medium armor. And I think that you want to be taking a different optional fourth skill depending on whether you're heavy armor or whether you're medium armor. So what I mean by that is 3 skills on the Glaive that you always want to make sure and have, regardless of which armor you are at or you're using, is going to be Warlord's Greeting, that is your stun, and Flying Reaper, which is your ultimate, and Breaker of Shields, which is almost like a little daze knockdown pushback ability that does blunt damage. And the reason you want those abilities is because right now, blunt damage in Conqueror's Blade is extremely strong. Most units don't have much blunt defense, and people in general are not stacking blunt defense. They're mostly stacking piercing, because most units in the game do piercing. So having something that does, a class that does blunt damage, is really, really, really strong right now in Conqueror's Blade. Hence why the Maul is one of the strongest weapons in the game, because a Maul is doing blunt damage. Blunt damage also scales extremely well in this game compared to slashing and piercing damage, which is why playing a class that does blunt damage is very important. Or at least having multiple people on your team playing blunt damage classes. So this all ties into your Flying Reaper, which does blunt damage, and it ties into your Breaker of Shields, which also does blunt damage. So you definitely want those 2 abilities. Your Warlord's Greeting is your stun, so you have to have that. Playing without a stun would be crazy, so you definitely want those 3. And here's what we were talking about earlier, is your optional 4th skill. For your 4th skill, you can take one of 3. You can take Heat of Battle for the damage reduction if you want to run like a full tank Glaive, which I haven't tried yet. It could be good, but I may test that another day. But we're just, for right now, talking about just the regular heavy armor Glaive build and the regular medium armor Glaive build. So your 3 skills will be either God of Battles, which is your damage buff. Very popular skill. A lot of people like to take it. It almost puts you more of in a support Glaive type of mindset, because you are missing that 4th ability. Or you're going to take Arc of Steel, which is a great 4th ability to have, optional 4th ability to have, because you can take out units better. It's a sweeping leg kick, and that's a really good one. Or the 3rd one, which I think is often underlooked, is Charge. It's by far my favorite as a medium armor Glaive, and I'll explain why. When you're a medium armor Glaive, which is what I'm running right now, you have to pop in your combo, and then you need to be able to get out. And you can roll out, or you can use your Breaker of Shields to get off the ground. But the problem is that if you're getting multiple CCs, or you just are in a spot where you need a lot of speed to get out, Charge is going to be your go-to escape ability. Basically, if I'm knocked on the ground, I Breaker of Shields to get out, and then I charge out of there. You can also Breaker of Shields and roll out, but that's not as good of a escape as I like to use. which is the charge ability. I don't really use the charge on offense a whole lot, but what it's good for is catching people that are running away. So if somebody's running away from you, you charge, and what I usually do is wait till the end of my charge and then I mount up. I mount up right after that because the charge is faster than the mount. So you want to go ahead and charge at them, and then at the end of your charge, rather than go through the slow abilities at the end of the charge, which are all hard to hit, both of them are, I usually will just opt for the mount up and go into my horse skills. I'll spam E, which is my horse main ability, and then I'll spam right click, which is also a very good ability for Glaive. You always want to stay on your mount as Glaive as long as you possibly can. I'm sure you guys already know that, but just in case you're a beginner, being on your mount almost all the time, as much as you can, is one of the most important things about playing a Glaive properly. You always want to be looking to spam B and mount up as soon as you can. Use that horse health until they knock you off of it, and then from there you can go into your skills and whatnot. So I guess we're 6 minutes into this already. It's a lot to cover. Real quick, let's talk about the heavy armor Glaive. I don't play it because I feel that Glaive is best as a burst damage class. Your ult has some of the best burst damage in the game, and I like to utilize that by stacking blunt damage, which you get for the medium armor, 150 blunt damage for your Carnifex set. I also stack Blizzard on top of that, which gives me an extra, I believe it's an extra 200, but it could be an extra 100. I'll have to double check after this. Basically, what this does, blunt damage, what this does is this puts me at 1300 blunt damage with my runes. So I'm doing an insane amount of damage just right off the start. So now that we're 7 minutes into this video, let's go ahead and crank it up. And I will put a notice on this YouTube video that says first 7 minutes are strictly about Glaive, and from there on out, we'll go with Jav play here. So let's go.
Oh shit.
And I'm going to go ahead and mute the sound here. Okay, so we're on Allenberg. This is the 175. Actually, it's the 160 plus bracket, which means that I'm facing, on average, better players. It's the beginning of the season, so a lot of players have a low seasonal level. Right now, what we're doing is we're bringing our Javs in. We see two guys flanking. I'm trying not to kill my Javs. That's one of the most important things about Javs while I'm chasing this guy. There's my horse ability. I see him, and I do something that most Glaives cannot do. I go ahead and charge him, and without that charge skill, I'm not getting that kill in that spot. Now, even if I miss the end of my charge ability there, I end up mounting in that case, and I'll just kill him with my E or with my right click anyway. So, but if you notice, I got my Javs out of the way. They were in melee range, and I pulled them out of melee range, and I made sure to not take any unnecessary damage to my Javs. Because in my opinion, Javs are almost like a gold unit. You really do not want to lose these guys. And you can hang on to them all game if you play it right. If you don't run into any bad luck or anything like that, you can play it right. So see, I'm not much of a unit killer as Glaive, and I know that. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing my Javs forward just in case this guy wants to stay. When I say Glaive, not the greatest unit killer, it's better with Arc of Steel or if you're heavy armor. Because with both of those classes, you don't, with both of those ability and heavy armor setup, you don't take as much damage from troops, which is nice. So you can just sit there and auto attack and spam your spells. And also, if you bring a skill like Arc of Steel, then you're able to do a lot more damage to troops. But that's not my playstyle, so I'm not too worried about that. So right now, I'm bringing back my Javs, setting them up on the point. One of the big things about playing Javs is that you always want to have them at the highest point of the map, because when they're throwing down, it's almost like they have gravity. All of the Javs clump up, and the gravity pulls the Javs straight into one spot. So with Javs, you never want to be throwing uphill, you always want to be throwing downhill if you can, which is why you see me moving them out of that little area and trying to get them up on this pedestal. And that's why this map is so good. This map is called Allenberg. It's one of my favorite maps for Javs because you have this really long hallway right here, and you have a lot of doors, you have a lot of narrow funnels, and you have two little high areas right here that you can throw your Javs. So here I see the team clumped up, I throw my Javs, and I get a double right there off the start of the map. Very good start for me. I'm now spamming emotes on my Twitch stream, so don't worry about that. Or I guess you would call them memes. They're not really emotes, but yeah. So just having fun. I'm actually pretty drunk in this game. Probably about 10 beers in, but that doesn't matter because I play Glaive and I play Javs, so it doesn't really matter how many beers I have. I'm still able to one-shot people. Here, I'm just trying to put in a little bit of damage. Let my Javs finish them off with the 3 ability. When you're using Imp Javs, your 3 ability is your main ability. You really do not want to use 2 and you do not want to use 1 unless certain situations arise. And what I mean by that is you only have 3 ammo on Javs. So if you can use those all on 3, that's nice. The problem is that 3 is on a long cooldown. So what I like to do is I like to make sure and use my 3 ability, which is my targeted throw. And then from there, I'll use my 2 ability, which is it's more of your like ranged AoE throw. It'll kill people, it'll kill units. It's a very good ability. My least favorite ability is the 1. Really, you only want to use that if they're in melee range and you can just go ahead and throw those Javs. Here comes the memes again. Throw those Javs in melee range, use the number 1. And it just throws to the closest person around. And I don't use it that much, but if I'm in melee range and I don't have my 3 up, I'll go ahead and use my 1. Again, I'm just healing my Javs. I'm coming back up to the top. This game starts out a little bit slow. Well, I mean, I've got 3 kills in the first couple minutes of the game, but it does start out slow overall, but it will pick up for sure. So just keep watching and you'll really like the way that this game plans out. Like I said, this is the 160 plus bracket, and why that's important is because when you hit 160 in Conqueror's Blade, you're basically thrown into everybody. I just killed another with my jab there. You're thrown into the pool with everybody else. So the players that I'm up against are, I would say, fairly good. I wouldn't say they're like the best on the server, but this game was on the weaker side of players, I would say. But overall, just out of all Conqueror's Blade, it's the higher bracket. It's the high bracket of players. So, and some games, even in the high brackets, you'll get weaker players all clumped up on one team, and some games you'll get a bunch of strong players. Just kind of depends on your luck and who's queuing and whatnot. So I'm just keep throwing jabs here. And now we see this guy. I know I don't have my ulti up, but I'm just trying to pump in some damage just in case anybody's around. Like that guy right there. I was kind of hoping that he might have been there to follow up, but he wasn't. Healing my Javs again, and that's a big part about playing Javs, is you just want to keep healing them. They're not really melee per se. They are actually decent. The Imp Javs are decent in melee compared to the Jav Sergeants, which aren't as good in melee. But you really only want to be doing that versus like serfs or low tier units, because when you start to melee with your Javs, you start to lose your Javs, and you really, really, really don't want to lose your Javs. You want to play your Javs extremely safe, because like I said, you can hold on to these guys for a really long time. At this point, I think I'm 5 or 6 kills into the game. And now we're just chilling. So we're pulling our Javs back up to the main point. This is the hot spot on Allenberg. It's my favorite spot on the map. There's just so much action up here. The hallways are narrow. It's just the perfect spot for Javs in general. This guy's sitting here, and he's an easy target. I run up to him, daze him off the horse, go into the stun, and go into my Breaker of Shields on my ulti. And what I do there is I just go ahead and throw my Javs just in case he's living with a little bit of extra HP. So this is where I will melee. I see that we're up against a green unit, and I have all my skills up with no hero behind him, so I'm fine with using my Javs for melee in that spot because it's Pike Militia, and they're not braced. If the Pike Militia were braced, I would not be fighting that fight. I would back off my Javs. Putting my Javs in a safe spot, and trying to get 1 kill here. He stealths out of it and moves away, or that probably hits, but I didn't miss him there. So I'm just going to check these guys. Looks like this guy's low health. And again, this is what we talk about. I figured they had that guy right there, so I want to chase the guy running off. We have the same idea. We both mount, and this is what we talked about earlier. You want to make sure as Glaive to be mounting as much as possible. I actually whiffed my E completely there, but it doesn't even matter because I have my right click as Glaive, so even if you do miss your E or your right click, you always have one or the other up almost all the time. For some reason, I pass a low health guy, and I go for the full health guy. Why I did that, I have no idea. But that was actually a heavy armor full health guy there that I took down in just 1 combo. Here are Javs. Again, I'm just letting them heal up. And it's going to keep rinsing and repeating this process of sending Javs to the supply point, using all my ammo, sending Javs back to the supply point. And while the Javs are on the supply point, I'm looking for hero kills at that point. Right now, just staying in the hot spot. There's no reason to switch up what we're doing. It's working. We just keep doing what we're doing. As one of my old baseball coaches used to say, don't fix what ain't broke. So if it ain't broke, we're not fixing it. Just going to keep doing what we're doing. Here's an important point about Javs as well. You want to make sure your Javs are set before they throw. I missed that. And what I mean by that is you X up your Javs, and when they get to the spot that they're X'd up at, nice, then you throw. So you'll see your Javs are kind of like right here, they're kind of moving around, and you want to make sure that you let them come to a standstill, and once they come still, then you throw. Never throw when you're on the run. I remember this play. This musket actually jukes me really hard here. I'll explain how that happened in a second. Actually, a really next level juke. What he did was he saw me coming at him, so he rolled forward, which was strange to me because most muskets, when they see me coming at them, they try to run backwards. And then after he rolled forwards, he went into his escape, which rolled him backwards. So he rolled forward and then he rolled backwards. This is the ultimate juke, especially for a drunk guy like me. Doesn't take a lot to juke me. So another reason I like this map is because it's a long map. And long maps really favor the Javs. Because the longer this game goes on, the more throws I'm going to get, the more kills I'm going to get, the more opportunities I'm going to get for my team. So, and right quick here, I'm using my 2 ability, which is my AoE throw. Got a bunch of unit kills there. Happy with that result. If I see people super clumped up, that's when you want to use the 2. And I would say another thing about these Javs is that compared to the Jav Sergeants, the Imp Javs compared to the Jav Sergeants, is that these are really hero killers. You're not looking to kill a lot of units, as to where the Jav Sergeants are the more well-rounded unit overall, because you can kill heroes and you can kill troops, especially with the Jav Sergeants. So for a beginner, I would recommend the Jav Sergeants, but if you're into hero killing the way that I am, the Imp Javs are massively better. Also, the Imp Javs with Sprint are next level OP because you can sprint them back to the supply point over and over. And unfortunately, I've rolled Sprint twice this season, and I've already used it on my Liaos, which is the unit I have out right now. Liao's doing work, but to be honest, I really didn't have a great Liao's game this time. Actually, I got a couple kills off them, but I int them right here, I believe. So really, this game is just all about the Javs, and that's why it's a great game to post up. I must have seen Stalwarts or something. Or, no, I don't know what I saw. Oh, I was waiting on my cooldowns for my... I was waiting on cooldowns, yep. Alright, so Liaos are officially inted. From here, we're going to go back to the Javs after this. Looking for the dual blades that stealthed, but couldn't find him. So yeah, with the Glaive, you're always looking to pop in and pop out. Go in, unleash your combo, and then charge out. Or if you don't have charge, just roll out. Okay, right here is the part of the video where the game does slow down a little bit. We're getting to the point where the game is, you know, it's slowing down and people are coming to C, so it's going to take them a little bit to get to C, but this is a very important thing to know here about your Javs. I'm Xing them in the very back because I predict that they're going to come onto C as a big clump like they were over at A, because it's such a small area to rush, and I'm pulling my Javs back because I don't want to lose these guys. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but you really, really, really do not want to lose these Javs. So I'm playing super safe. I see that my team is not on C. There's no point in me going in and trying to get a kill. It's not worth losing my Javs for. So we're just backing out and waiting for the third phase of the map. I would say we're in the second phase of the map right now, where they are on C. The first phase was them taking A and B. So this is the final phase of the map, and this is where it gets really good. I would say my favorite part of the map, I take it back. Earlier I said it was that top part, but I would say it's this part. This part is incredibly hard for the offense to get through. They have to come through this little narrow doorway, or they have to go up the ladders. There is a flank in the back that they can come through as well, but it's also a small doorway. And it's a small hallway next to that, which means, you guessed it, good for Javs. Any narrow hallways, any doorways, anything that's small, any small area, good for Javs. So every direction they can come to me is just very good for Javs right here. I'm looking to capitalize on this doorway. Looks like some easy kills. And we're just popping in and popping out. That's the play style, is you wanna bounce in and you wanna bounce out with the Javs. So go in, throw a shot, and back them off. Targeted ability, you might as well throw it. I probably should have waited a little bit so I could have kill stole that guy. Because if you let your team do a little bit of damage and then you throw your targeted Javs, you'll probably get the kill, rather than throw them right off the start. I'm surprised that missed, because it looked like I hit him dead on, but I may have missed him just by a little bit. Going for the triple kill here, mount up, go into my E, but I mounted up just a little bit late. Maybe if I had had 5 less spears, maybe I would have mounted up a little quicker there, had quicker reaction times. Yeah, so right here I'm just kind of going through my units. I want to make sure my units are fully healed for this last fight. Anytime you're on a map and there's about 3 minutes left, there's usually one big push incoming. So I know that there's one big push that's going to come in here at the very end, and I want to make sure all my units are full health, and I want to get set up perfectly before they get here. Usually they'll get here around 2 minutes to 2 minutes 30. And so I make sure and get here a little bit early to set up for that final push. Yeah, so again, if you look at this area right here that I'm at, it's another narrow hallway looking area. So another good area for Javs. I see guys with shields, and so I'm the fuck out of here. Because, yeah, those guys right there will start to take out my Javs, and I see my Javs are a little bit low. So I'm really just kiting with my Javs as much as I can. Okay, looking for the double ult here. I ult, I throw my Javs at the same time, and get the kill to finish him off. That's my 3 ability, and that's how strong it is with the Javelins. And this is how strong Glaive is on horse. Extremely strong class. I would say just a little bit behind Spear in terms of how strong on the horseback it is. So you really want to utilize your mount. And on your mount as Glaive, you want to make sure and craft all of your mount gear. Because if you go buy the blue mount gear for your horse, it's like 2/3 as good as it is if you craft it. So you always want to craft it, even if you get blue mount gear. You still want to craft it. Hopefully you get epic though. So right here, I'm getting back on my mount, just trying to stay a little safe while my Javs heal up, trying not to die, which is very, very important in this game. Dying in this game is extremely bad, because not only do you lose yourself in the battle, but you lose your units when you have your units out, unless you retreat them perfectly. And retreating your units after you die is very, very hard to do, because people will usually chase them down. Just the jab madness continues. It's great. I just love this unit. And that's my AoE ability with my Javs. And right here is the point in the game where I think we got it wrapped up. I want to make sure, though, before I get too risky, so I'm kind of playing a little safe. And then once it gets to about 30 seconds left, I know we're good. Just to make sure there's not any more pushes coming. And I should have killed him right there, but I messed my aim up a little bit. I see this guy killing my Javs, so I'm trying to CC him as best I can. Trying to kill him. Pulling my Javs back again, just making sure I could save some of them. Even though the game's already over, it's just... It becomes a habit after a while to move your Javs all the time. And I remember this point of the game where I knew I had a lot of kills and I didn't want to die. Because I knew I was like 20-0, so I wanted to continue that streak. So I played it really safe right here. I probably could have got another kill if I would have gone in, but I may have died as well. So that's the game. And we get a little vault, so we're going to click that. Get the MVP, and boom. I was so happy in this game. I remember it was one of my best games in the past 2 weeks, I would say. Getting 15 kill plus games as Glaive, pretty easy to do, but getting 20 kill games as Glaive is a lot more difficult because you have a melee class compared to a dual blade. So yeah, that was it, guys. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments area, but this was a good showcase of why I think the Jav unit, the Imp Jav unit, is one of the best units in the game right now, especially for a purple unit. And one other thing I want to add before I let you guys go is that let's say the fight is a 5v5. If you take one of them out and you make it a 5v4, that makes all the difference in the world. Because usually when you kill the hero, your team will be able to mop up the units as well. So at that point, it's a 5v4, even with the units. So having somebody on your team that is a hero killer is very, very, very important. Especially if it's a dual blades, but even if it's a glaive or a musket or somebody that can just do a lot of burst damage, not really focusing on the units so much, more so focusing on making these fights 5v4 or 3v2 or whatever is very, very, very important in this game. So you always need one or two of those on your team. The problem comes when your whole entire team is trying to hero kill and you have no shield units, but that's another topic for another day. So this has been a long video, but hopefully educational for anybody who's looking to use Javs or Glaive. And that's it. Catch you guys later. Peace.